Another episode, another edition of Big Conversations with T. It's been a minute. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you're warm. And Happy New Year. We've been gone a minute, and yeah, I'm just happy to be back. And boy, tonight do we have a show for you. You may be wondering what this conversation. Okay. You may be wondering, excuse me, what Big Conversations is about. Big Conversations is all about having meaningful and insightful chats with people who are important or who shape the landscape of our communities. Um, Big Conversations is about the issues you're passionate about. So I hope you stay with us. Our first guest tonight is Miss Oluseye Ashiru, and she joins us now. If I could just bring her in. Good evening, Oluseye. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, everyone who's watching. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you too?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so very much for doing this. Now, I was just trying to explain, I got distracted what Big Conversations is. You came on my radar because you're a very, very powerful person in the community. You do a lot of events, you're a motivator, you uplift people, you're an inspiration. Like I love everything about you. I've been on your website and I thought no better way to start 2024. And I'm not trying to flatter you here, but no better way to start 24 without bringing you on. So to get us
Thank you.
started, please tell us a little bit about yourself because you wear many hats. Tell
Mm.
us about what you do and who you are.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me. Really a pleasure to be here. And to everyone who's watching, we hope you have a great time tonight. Okay, so my name is Oluseye Ashiru. For those who do not know me, and I would like to refer to myself for the purpose of this evening as a life, family, and business strategist. I work with women to pursue their big and bold dreams unapologetically. With the work that I do, over the last 10 years or so, organizations have been able to reach over 50,000 people, women in particular, in over 24 countries globally. I currently lead a nonprofit organization called Families Are Rising Resource Center, which is domiciled here in Edmonton, where we provide family oriented resources and tools to families in Canada and globally as well. I also co founded a human capacity development company called Living Boldly Inc., where we provide tools and resources to activate, inspire, and equip women, especially women that are living in diaspora. So if you're a woman living in diaspora, you are my go-to people. And it's really a pleasure to have been able to touch lives and impact people in across personal, family, and leadership in different areas.
Wow, 50,000 women is no joke, Olusha. Well done. How long have you been in this space? Or how long have you done what you've been doing? How long have you been in it for?
I would say just about 10 years. I started this
Wow.
journey of being in the, human capacity development, I like to call it, space in 2014. So yeah, it's been about 10 years.
Okay, wow. Like, so how did you, what led you into doing this? Because now, if 10 years ago you just started, now by now you're a master. Could you just tell us what led you into the work you do
Hmm.
and maybe some of the lessons, a few lessons you've learned
Hmm.
along the way?
Yeah, honestly speaking, I didn't really plan that I was going to get into maybe becoming a coach or and all of that. I actually am on my fourth postgraduate program. My background is in actuarial science. I have a master's in actuarial science. I have an MBA. I'm currently running a program in counseling. So I didn't really set out to say, oh, I'm going to be a coach or whatever. Honestly, I just wanted to support people. Um, because based on my own personal experience, after having started to have a family, getting into motherhood and all of those things, I realized that it was so easy to get swept under the carpet. Your dreams and your ambitions, your desires, simply because you are caught in the daily grind of diapers, baby food, school runs, and things like that. So for me, I just wanted to support people, women, mothers, in particular at that time, to step out of a life of chaos, of overwhelm, a life of confusion into a life of clarity, a life of purpose. And so my journey has always been around how can I support more women to get out of the shackles that holds them down and step into a bold and purposeful life. So I started off just by writing a blog. I mean, a friend of mine just said to me, "How are you able to do everything you do? You do so much, and you never seem to be able to say that you're tired or overwhelmed. How do you do all of these things?" So I figured, you know what? How best can I distill my message to the world? So I started off writing the blog. That was in 2014, and from that time up until now, it's really been about helping people. So I started from blogging, got certified as a coach, and just getting these different knowledge, expertise, and things like that, just to be able to help more people. So that started me off blogging, and then I started working with women, and it grew into a coaching practice. And it started me to, it's not just about the coaching. I also run a nonprofit, like I said before. So different initiatives over the years have developed out of that passion. But it's always centered around that core desire to just empower women to live a bold life. So writing books, whether it's training, whether it's coaching, whatever I find find myself involved with, it's always had that core message of how can I help people to discover, embrace, and fulfill their potential and purpose. That's really it.
Miss Solution, me, I want to discover my purpose as well in 24. And one
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
reasons why I
We
thought
here
I
for it.
you, you have over maybe 12 books. I guess even 15 books on your website. And I thought, wow, what no better person to invite. So tell us how to start 24 in a purposeful way. And
Hmm.
also tell us how your message has, because I know you send me all these prompts to invite me. And I've been on your website on my phone, but then preparing for this, I actually went on the website like, oh my God, look, who do we have here? You're like a titan, just quietly living your life. And so talk to us about how your message has been received,
Hmm.
either by the programs you run,
Hmm.
either by your business channel,
Hmm.
or by your books. And
Hmm.
then equip us for 24, will you please?
Okay. Okay, so I think I'll start by saying that when I started to speak to an audience, I mean, like I said, 10 years ago, it wasn't very popular to be a coach or any of those things that people are doing nowadays, right? It wasn't very popular to be in the digital space. But one thing that I know that has really been a beacon for me has always been I want to reach people across the world. I think that was my biggest message. I don't want to just be a person who's confined to my current location. I want to be able to reach people across the world. So when I started out blogging, I realized that a lot of people resonated with a lot of the messages. In fact, I still have some of my old, like the first earliest blog that I wrote, and the comments, the how people were able to identify with that whole journey of motherhood. I started off, as a mom blog, and it was so powerful. I could see that a lot of people were drowning under all of their everyday life, that they were not able to step into a life of purpose. And so it was really great. And then I started, okay, this is just a blog, but can I grow a community out of this? So I started off with the community, the mom community at that time. A year into the blog, I started off a Facebook group, and it was phenomenal. We grew that group to like maybe just a little under 7,000 people at that time. And it was like, wow, like I can't believe so many people want to hear this message. And it was from that moment that I started to realize that even though I had my own life to live and I had things that I wanted to do myself, there are people whose destiny, whose purpose, whose lives really are tied to me saying yes every single day to what God has called me to do. So even when it's hard and tough, I keep going. There are times when I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't pay as much as I should be earning. Sometimes I do that. but but guess what? I'm still here. 10 years in, I'm still here because the message is still the same today. People still need to understand their their reason for being, why they are here on earth, and to be able to step into it. So for me, it's been great reception. Not always in ways that I would want in certain areas, but it's fulfilling. Honestly, like it's fulfilling to see someone who I've met people who, when I met them, in fact, there's a lady that I always use as an example. When I met her, the picture she sent to me of herself, I mean, a picture, not just an image in my mind, a picture of her. If you put that picture side by side, a picture today, you will not believe that it's the same person. I'm not kidding. She looked totally different now. Like you'll be like, wow. And that tells you what transformation can happen for someone who steps into the light, basically. So for me, it may not be all that I want to see every single day, but I'm here and I'm here for the long haul. It is absolutely rewarding. It's fulfilling to see people step into purpose. Yeah, that's why I do this every day, every single day. Yeah.
That I feel touched because I spend a lot of hours as well,
Hmm.
um supporting here, doing this, doing that, and a lot of the work I do takes my time, and I don't get paid for it. Like if I get paid $100 for every hour I'm sat here working
Mhm.
to help somebody else get one or two things done,
Yeah.
I'll be super rich. So to hear you say this is
Yeah.
God, this is how you perceive what God has asked you to do, called you to do.
Hmm.
That you find fulfillment in that. That's His healing.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, wherever we are, we want to find fulfillment, and
Hmm.
fulfillment is key. That was beautiful, and I that resonated with me.
Hmm.
I know we were saying before we started about your program, you have to pay this, but for sustainability, right?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, sustainability. I get why you have that motto. I
Hmm.
want to look at you as a person. How do you unwind and relax? How do you have all these women, 7,000 in Facebook group. Do you still have that Facebook group, by the
Yeah,
way?
yeah, but
Yeah.
it is there. It's still there. Facebook is still there. I've gone on to open another group for a different purpose. Yeah, so we still have that community
What
still
do you
there.
do for your
People are
mental
still
health?
growing.
How do you relax? You cannot carry
Hmm,
the world every day.
I know
It's
exactly.
Sunday, we're working. Talk to us about your detox, your relaxing, what you
Hmm.
do for your mental health, please.
Hmm.
Mental health for busy women is what we'll call it.
Yep. Honestly speaking, I always say to people that I'm very busy, but I'm never overwhelmed. Like I'm very busy, but I'm never overwhelmed. What that means is that I create a structure and a lifestyle for myself that prioritizes my own personal wellness. Why is that important? I can't give what I don't have. This is what I mean. Like I can't continue to pour to people if I am not well, if I'm not okay. Then I will be giving out of a thinned out fountain. Which, by the way, everybody who listens to me, who hears me, who's under my tutelage in any way, takes from my fountain. So it's
Yeah.
important that I ensure that my everyday life, I don't just wait until vacations or until one day in the year. Every single day, I ensure that I structure into my day time for me, time to unwind, time to do the thing that I love, time to fill my cup. Sometimes, when we talk about self-care, people always think, oh, go to the spa or do your nails or, massage. Sometimes it's doing the things you love. It could be taking a walk. It could be talking to another person, actually, somebody who fills you up. It could be watching TV, depending on the kind of person you are. It could be reading a book. I love to read. So for me, I have to read every day. It could be listening to meditation, like just unwinding, sitting there, not doing anything. I structure that into my life. I've done that for since my kids were little. Now I have older kids, so maybe that helps also. But since my kids were little, I've always believed that recreation is not something you do when you go and live. It's an everyday lifestyle. It should become who you are. Find time to recreate every single day. 30 minutes, 15, 20. That may be all you really need. Just sit there, be still, not doing any work, just being doing what you want to do, what you like to do, or just be there in solitude or quiet, whatever. For me, it's important. So it's not really the things that I do, but the lifestyle that I've chosen to imbibe when it comes to, um, you know, resting or relaxation or recreation. It's important. Nobody who will go far can go far without ensuring that they are always filling their cups every day. Let it be a lifestyle, not until you go and live. That's what I'll say. Oh, you're muted now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like when you say that you enjoy reading, and I like when you say let it be a lifestyle, because that tells me that it's possible. We don't have
Mhm.
to. You're busy but not overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And what you find out with little repetitious tasks is Sometimes it can get overwhelming. Sometimes you're
Mhm.
just tired.
Yeah.
And when a friend of mine said to me, when doing little things become difficult, it's time for a break. So
Yep.
talk us through your daily routine. Do you
Mm.
start at 4 a.m.? Do you start with meditation? Do you start with some yoga? Do you start with a detox, a lime or
Mhm.
cucumber? I don't know. Talk to us about your day. Let's see how you are doing it and not
Mm.
get rid of the overwhelm.
Yeah. Honestly, I always say that I think the answer to that routine question will be um I just ensure that whatever I do, I wake up before everybody else. Because that time is a great time before the world wakes up. I like to call it before the world wakes up, even if it's 30 minutes before everybody else or 20 minutes before everybody else in the house. Just getting downstairs and only me, like just that quietness in the house. That's all I need to just be fine. And then I just sit, do my daily devotion, get my Bible, do a time of prayer, journal a little bit, and just fill my tank for the day. Once I fill my tank for the day, then I can get into other activities. Get breakfast ready, have children, like I said, getting everybody ready for school. We do family devotion, get everybody ready for school. If I'm the one driving my kids to school that day, I'm doing the driving with my husband. I do all of that. I get back home because I work for myself. I try to program my routine in such a way that I don't get into maybe coaching calls or meetings and things like that until like 9:30 or 10. It's how I just program it. So when I get back, is if I need to do my workout or if I'm going to the gym or if I'm going swimming, whatever I'm doing, once I drop my kids off in school, I have like that 1 hour window where I can do all of those things, catch up on maybe physical fitness, going for a walk, whatever. It depends on the season of the year, right? Or do exercise in my house. I do all of that at that time. And then the moment I'm done with that, I get into my day. So whether it's um meetings, coaching calls, doing work, creating content for the audience, for the people that we serve, I get into all of that. And then I ensure that, once my kids get back from school, I try to taper off my work not too heavy so that way I can have time for my children as well. And then if I have maybe some other coaching calls that happen in the evening, I do my coaching calls at that time and I ensure that before I go to bed, like I said, unwind, whether it's through reading a book or through a meditation app or just ensuring that whatever I do,
Okay.
I unwind, and that's important for me. So I would say that for anybody who's listening, who's feeling overwhelmed or who's feeling like there's a lot to be done, I always say to people, do you know that the reason why we feel overwhelmed is because one, you are carrying on more than you are supposed to be carrying. So everybody should have priorities based on their life season and based on their life's purpose. So whatever your purpose in life is will dictate the things that you prioritize, the things that you are focusing on in your current season. If you don't know your purpose and you don't know why you're here on earth, you're going to try to do everything. I don't try to do everything. I do the thing that I'm supposed to be doing based on my current life season, based on my where I am. I program those things into my calendar and ensure that my calendar reflects my values. My calendar must reflect the things that matter to me, my values, the things that are like my deal breakers, whatever. I ensure that those things are on my calendar. I can say no to other people. I can say no to other things that are not aligned with where I am going. No matter how beautiful it sounds, it looks, oh, it's a great opportunity. Maybe we should do it. It may sound great, but does it align with where I'm going, where I see myself in the next 10 years? If it doesn't align, no matter how beautiful it sounds, I'm just going to say no to it. It's hard sometimes, but I say no to things that don't align with where I'm going. And for me, that's the definition of removing overwhelm from your life. Because if you want to do everything, you'll be overwhelmed. Yeah, that's it. You're muted again, I think. Yeah.
The reason why I always mute is because I get fidgety. I move this way, I move that way, and all the noise gets into
All the
the
feedback, I know.
feedback, and it's not nice. Okay, I need to be mindful of that. I agree with you. Once the kids are at school, that short time, an hour, I get like an hour as well. It counts. So I can see how you
Mhm.
structure your life such that you're not overwhelmed. And I really appreciate that answer. It's
Mhm.
it's relatable. I can relate to that. You talked about just now you enjoy reading. What was the last book you read? And as we start 24, how can we, what do we need to program into 24 so that come December 31st,
Hmm.
2024, we
Hmm.
say, oh yeah, I beat 24. I was better here, I was better there. So,
Okay, so that book one, I'm laughing because at every given time, I could read like 5 books at a time. The reason is because I read for different purposes, right? So I have my devotional book that I'm reading. Maybe that for use for my Bible study. That one will be there. I'm reading it. Maybe I read a part of it in the morning. I have a book that we're reading currently in the Living Boldly. We have a book club. We have a book we're reading. We're currently reading Put Your Dream to the Test by John Maxwell. I'm reading a portion of that every day. And then I have my the books that I have on my phone on my Libby app from the library that I borrow from time to time just to kind of keep up with things. I read a lot of fiction, so I always have like I borrow to the capacity that the library allows me to borrow, every time. So I have always have a bunch of books. So at every single day, I'm reading from at least 3 or 4 books that serve different purposes in my life. So, yeah, I'm that person who loves to read. I was just saying it a few days on social media. I once read 22 books in 1 week. So, you can imagine. I'm a book nerd. No kidding. I love reading. So, yeah, I'm always reading all the time. And then, of course, the other question is 2024. What should we be doing to ensure that we end the year feeling great, feeling fulfilled, feeling like, yeah, this year was a blast? I will say that it's important that we have, number one, get clarity about the general direction of your life. What is your where are you going? You know, have a clear vision about where you're headed. Generally, ask the question: why am I here on Earth? Where will I like to find myself in the next 10 years? What kind of award will I like people to give to me in 10 years? And then start from there. Because once you have that general direction of your life, it's easier for you to say, okay, what will I be doing in 2024 that will move me closer to that general direction of my life? Because when it comes to goal setting or visioning and things like that, I don't just tell people have a vision board, put things on it, put picture on it, because it doesn't work. People are going to feel go around fulfilling goals that have no bearing with where they are going. So they have this bunch of things they've done, but they still feel like they're out of alignment with their life. They don't feel great about themselves, even though they are doing great things, right? From you that you're looking at them from the outside. So understand and say, what part of my story do I want to write in 2024? You can't do everything in 1 year. So what goals should I be setting in 2024 that will move me closer to that big picture of me that I see in the future, right? And then, for example, in Living Boldly Inc., we run a membership community for women in diaspora, and we have what we call our signature 12 bold pillars of a woman's life. So that way, I'm constantly keeping an eye on every part of my life, and I check that, am I growing in every area of my life? I don't want to grow in one way and then don't grow in another way. I don't want to be a person whose will is out of alignment. I don't want to be this person who's doing great in this area and then this area just sucks to the highest heavens. No, I want to be a woman who is bold, truly, 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 who lives out every area of her life, feel like, yeah, I don't feel out of alignment. So I would say ensure that you are feeding into every area of your life. How do I want to grow in my 12 pillar areas in 2024? That's what I do. And I have those questions written down. I have it everywhere I go. I have it in my notes. I have my planner somewhere on my table there. By the way, it's Living Boldly Ink Planner, where we have all those 12 pillars inside there as well. I'm checking every day. Am I growing in my personal growth, in my personal brand? How am I growing? In my spiritual growth, what am I doing well? In my financial wellness, in my mental wellness, physical wellness, vocational enterprise, charitable enterprise, my legacy leadership, family circle. I'm checking that I'm not leaving any area of my life behind. So if you want to grow in 2024, ask yourself, where am I going generally? What part of my story am I writing in 2024? How do I want to grow in my 12 pillar areas in 2024? That's how you grow. That's how you ensure that when you're done with this year, you will not have done a lot, but feel out of alignment. You will check everything you've written down. You do your due diligence. You work hard, but you will end the year feeling fulfilled because you can see how 2024 has contributed to your general vision of your life. Yeah, that's it.
Miss Oluseye Ashiru, thank you so very much. I didn't know much about your personality when I invited you in. Well, I didn't expect to be blown away. I didn't expect that you touch me forcefully like this, because here and there you meet coaches, here and there, this and that, and you know, just this short time we've interacted. I've connected with your spirit, and I will most definitely stay in touch. I think you're beyond incredible. Like when I grow up, I should be like you. I will be exploring your books, and yeah, I definitely will support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where can people find you? Where can people find you?
Well, my name is Oluseye Ashiru. So what that means that if you Google me, you'll find me on Google. If you Google my name, Oluseye Ashiru, you'll find me. If you go to my website, oluseyashiru.com, you'll learn more about me. If you find me on social media, if you're on Instagram, I'd love to connect with you at Oluseye Ashiru. On wherever you are on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I'm there at Oluseye Ashiru. And of course, if you want to connect with the work we do, just check out Families Are Rising or check out Living Boldly Inc. That's Living Boldly Inc. And you find us there. Yeah, it would be great to connect with you. Please let me know you're from here if you're connecting with me.
Okay, okay. I will be connecting them from here. So make sure you check out the feed. I'll share it with you so you can like
Yes.
and subscribe. So thank you very much, Miss
Thank
Felicia.
you.
I
Thank
really appreciate the time we spent this
Yes,
afternoon
ma'am. Thank you.
together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You
Okay,
too. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
bye bye. That was Miss Oluseye Ashiru, educator, book nerd, businesswoman, coach. Yeah, there was a lot to unpack there, but I am sure, I am so sure that you were inspired as I was. This is Big Conversations with your girl T, and I fumbled a bit in what Big Conversations is about. It's a weekly program where we ignite the conversations that matter in our communities. We ignite conversations around issues you're passionate about. And I am excited to introduce our next guest. He's bigger than the whole of Edmonton put together. He is IBK, the founder of Black Business Edmonton.
Oh my
Hello,
God.
IBK.
What an introduction. The class bigger than the whole of Edmonton.
I am
That is,
What you're doing
oh,
is big. I am humbled and honored that you're here in
thank you.
person, live. Black Business Edmonton is not a small feat, and you're celebrating your first year anniversary on the
That's
26th.
correct. That's
I am,
correct. Or
yeah,
27th,
on the
actually.
27th. Okay, on the 27th, and yeah, you're here, and I know you're very busy. So thank you so much for joining the conversations tonight, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so how did this idea even start? How did you get from day zero to day where during our first year anniversary?
Right?
Get us up to
It's,
date. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think the best word to describe it is passion. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm someone that likes to see, the community thrive. I'm just someone that likes to bring people together and for a good cause. And honestly, you mentioned how we started. This idea just started from a need in the community, right? I actually was looking for Black Business Edmonton myself, and the goal was because I was doing some tech projects on the side. So I just wanted to use my IT skills to develop. Um, I wanted to use my IT skills to help the Black community. So just from online search, I just realized that we really don't have like a hub connecting business owners and talents and the different skills that's being possessed by the Black community. So I just thought, what, I could take up on this project. And um yeah, it's just the passion, I think, is what is bringing out the success. And I myself can't believe it's 1 year already. It's like the time went by so quick, and I'm just very happy about what Black Business Edmonton has been able to do for the past 1 year. It's tremendous. It's- I think you're on mute.
So, for those people who don't know what you do, in a nutshell, what sort of service do you provide to Black businesses in Edmonton?
So BBE is a short form, is a digital hub dedicated to promoting Black-owned businesses, talent, events, side gigs, um, and everything that's going on around Black community. So it's like a digital hub where we showcase, everything business, everything services, everything talents, everything events that is organized by a Black individual or a Black group or the Black community, right? So it's just a way to identify and support all of these businesses to provide them with visibility so that not just the Black community, but the entire Edmonton landscape can actually, look out for these businesses and also patronize them.
Yeah, so what do you say to people who say, oh, but there are other people already doing the same thing, like Diversity Magazine, there's this and that people who are already showcasing businesses. How is Black Business Edmonton different from what already occurs?
All right. So what I usually tell people is that even if there are a million people doing the same thing, right? Um, it's like there's a lot of things happening in Edmonton that only one body cannot provide the same visibility. For instance, I know I mentioned that I wanted to go to Black Business Edmonton to showcase my my talents, and all this other group that you mentioned, I have no idea they exist, right? So, and they were maybe because someone in tech, right? So there were some keywords I was looking from my online search, and there was really no result that was connecting all the business owners. I came across it's like a directory of Black-owned businesses, but it's not just based in Edmonton or Canada. It extends to Europe, the United States. So when I checked under the Edmonton, I'm trying to look for remember the name of the website, but it doesn't specifically um, say Edmonton. It's like a global directory. So I wanted something particularly um, designated for the Edmonton zone, right? So that was why I started. And I think for Black Business Edmonton, the thing that set us apart is the resounding success that we've been able to identify from the community, especially people that have um, um, they are in the embryonic stage of their business where they are still starting out and they're like doing this on the side. So one of my goals is to be able to help them scale up from being within the small bubble and to really grow the business to where everybody can know about them. So I think that is a goal that kind of differentiates from every other person that's doing similar things that I'm doing, right? And it's not just about businesses as well, even events, because we volunteer, we go to support, and we also try to help people that are new to Edmonton. Maybe they have a business from where they're coming from. Maybe they immigrate to Canada and they're just trying to start from scratch. Most people will just start looking for a job and leave whatever they're doing. But one of the things that Black Business Edmonton does is to be able to encourage them and empower them to be able to continue their journey of business rather than just living it out. So, and a goal is to contribute to the economy of the city.
To be honest, you've done incredibly well because if you go to the north of Edmonton, people, when you ask just randomly amongst Black entrepreneurs, do you know Black Business Edmonton? Oh, yeah, it's the IBK. So they know IBK, IBK. It's like you should run for office, IBK. I, you go anywhere, say IBK, only one person looks back, and
Yeah.
that is you. So, in terms of the work you've put into Black Business Edmonton, the testament is there. Many people would agree with you. You've worked incredibly hard. and you're making what is called a meaningful difference in the lives of these business owners, giving them the visibility that they need. I want to ask you about some of the challenges you may well have encountered in your first year, as no business is without challenges. Could you share with us some of what you encountered and how maybe you overcame them?
So Black Business Edmonton started from through social media, right? So I remember January, the first week of January 27 was when I created a social media page, which is through LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So I was reaching out to people that I know have businesses just to tell them about the platform. And when you have just 5 people on the platform, 5 followers across social media. So if anybody promote their business, right, who's gonna say it? So that was a challenge, but and I never go to inquire people to say, hey, follow the page. So what I started doing was a few people with their permission and consent, some of them will send me the business page or like the Instagram page or Facebook page. Someone would just say, oh, I don't even know what to write about my business. So what I'll do is I will go on the page, look at the content, understand the business, try to create a engaging script and write something out for them, and just throw it on social media. I know how social media works, right? Instagram algorithm is there are some keywords, and there's some where you have to format your content such that people would say it. So those are the things I started doing, and from 5 to 10 followers to 20 to 50 to 100. In fact, my milestone was before the end of 2023. I wanted to reach 500 people across social media, and before December, we reached over 1,300 across social media. So that was just a resounding success. And in terms of challenge, of course, there are challenges like um, I when I started out, I was, my because I set expectations, right? I was hoping that there'll be more support to be able to amplify this voice, because it's not just about me, it's for the community. So I set expectations that Black Business Edmonton will get enough support from the community, and maybe because of the passion that I have for this cause, right? Because, like I said, I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing this for the community. There was a bit of decline in the kind of support I received, and I didn't really understand how a few things work. So I was like, this is something that has to be a collective effort from the community. So I just started, I continued, and what I realized is that once you have a clear path and a goal, then the kind of support you're looking for will come along with you. So it's like starting from a social media hub promoting these businesses. I don't want Black Business Edmonton to be seen as a social media page where like a content creator. No, it's a hub dedicated to showcase Black-owned businesses, right? And because it is self-funded, there are a few setbacks that I encountered, but I think what kept it going was the perseverance, the resilience, the not giving up, just keep doing what you do. And at the end of the day, I started getting few support from the community. So I think the persistence, paid off at the end of the day.
Yeah, I appreciate your frankness there. Starting any kind of business is not easy, especially here in Edmonton, where immigrants come in with triple, quadruple degrees. Everybody knows something about everything, and everybody is a professional. Most especially West Africans, East Africans, most people who are immigrants here, they know a thing or two about nearly everything. So you're right. It would take persistence and perseverance to carve your niche to an intelligent populace, as it were. So I want to salute you for that. And to say well done. There's no business that starts easy. There's no business that does not encounter challenges, but the joy is in overcoming as
Yep.
you're now about to celebrate your first year. So what can we expect on the 27th? I hear great things. Talk to us about
Drum rolls.
drum
Yeah,
roll.
it's gonna be an exciting day for the community. Wow, it's so first of all, it's a celebration of what we've been able to achieve in the past year. BBE has been able to showcase over 200 businesses. We've been able to promote events like Ghana Fest, Jollof Fest, Africarnival, the Black Business Expo, um, when African Women Talk, events that they organize, and a few. We don't just promote events; we've also been able to volunteer and help physically. So we look back about the milestone, and one of the things that makes me so happy is, when I look at the success that we've received from the platform, people that were just thinking about a business, and they just started after a lot of encouragement, and they started having customers, they have clients, with some people even saying that they might actually make this a thing, like not having a paid full-time job, but focusing on their business, right? um, I've been able to visit a few businesses that never had a location before, now have a location. So we look back about it at all of these, and we just want to, echo out the success to everybody. Everybody just come celebrate yourself, and we're gonna have few keynote speakers, some dignitaries are gonna be present, and it's also an avenue to network and mix with other business owners and have the opportunity to listen in a roundtable panel focused on mental health among business owners and the Black youths. And we're trying to look for a way to provide support for people that are also struggling with mental health. Because I know you mentioned that starting out a business is not easy, and oftentimes the topic mental health gets overlooked. So it takes a lot of efforts, and so that's why some psychiatrists and therapists in the community have reached out that they actually want to do a community outreach. So we'll be talking about mental health and how business owners or the general Black community can seek support. And apart from that, of course, there will be opportunity to connect with some of the dignitaries that are going to be present. So I just encourage everybody to come with their business cards, share. There are a few vendors that we are going to be shouting out that way as well, because a lot of people are involved in this organizing of the 1 year anniversary. So it's an opportunity for everybody to just come and learn more also about the future projects that Black Business Meeting have coming up. So it's gonna be an exciting day for sure.
Abike, before we let you go, thank you so much. Could you talk to us after your first year anniversary? What next?
And that's right. It's a
And
lot.
and
There's
then and then where can people get tickets for the 27th? Are you already sold out? Are you still selling tickets? Can
yeah,
we
there's
still get
still
tickets?
yeah, there's still a few tickets available. So if you go on bbedm.ca, and there's an events page. So click on the event to see the ticket information there. You can purchase your ticket. Tickets are still available to buy. Also, if you go on our social media page, on our bio, there are links that will take you directly to the tickets page as well. So that's how you can get tickets. In terms of what next for BBE, we have a few things planned for the rest of the year. We want to launch a portal where business owners can post jobs, and people looking for jobs can also apply for jobs through the portal. We want to be creating resume writing service, especially for new immigrants. You know how when you come to Canada for the first time, right, you need to be orientated on how to tailor your resume to fit. So we want to be able to offer such services as well. And there are a few workshops that we have planned out for the rest of the year. We want to do workshops on financial literacy. We're hoping to do workshop on how insurance is very important for everybody. Most people don't, it doesn't really get spoken of a lot. So we are working with a few groups and partner with some groups to talk about obtaining insurance and about life insurance and things like that. Then we also want to involve the youth. So just like one of the event we did last year, we invited the Black Student at Social Marketing University to come speak at our last meet and greet event that we did last year. And we also gave an opportunity for a youth entrepreneur. The business name is Lumi Cosmetics, so they were able to speak about their business as well. So we're also trying to see how we can empower the youth entrepreneurs, right? I had a meeting with a youth I just met recently, a new graduate. She's a graphic designer, so she's also going to be working with BBE in terms of the branding and some graphical work. So we also want to connect with the youth in the community, as they graduate from school, even though they have, a job they're pursuing, if they have a tech or a business idea that they want to convert into a business, we want to structure out a way to help them achieve their goal as well. So there's just so many things lined up for the year, but after the anniversary, then we can start diving into all those. You're on mute.
Ooh, IBK, wish you all the very best on the 27th for this first year anniversary. And of course, we wish you many more years, in business and in service of Black business owners and in service of Edmonton. I know you do well. If in one year you supported over or showcased 200 businesses, pray tell me what you do in year 10 or year 20 or year 25. So thank you very much, Abike. I'm honored and I'm grateful that you took quality some time out of your quality time on a Sunday evening
No
to
worries
tell us
at all.
about your event. So
No
keep
worries
me
at all.
updated. Send me the photos of your event. It's too pricey. We may not be able to come, but we
Uh,
will put it on our website. Okay.
okay, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you very much, IBK.
Okay, have a good
It's
night.
your time. Thank you,
You too.
sir.
Okay, bye.
This is Big Conversations with your girl T, where we try to have meaningful and insightful conversations when I'm not muted. This is our first episode back, ends the glitches here and there. Without much ado, it's time to bring up our next guest. To me, she's a friend. She's my friend. I wonder how you would introduce yourself to our audience. Shayla, you look so beautiful tonight, my wonderful, beautiful Shayla. How are you?
Thank you, T. I'm good, thank you. I always struggle with introductions
Technology. Okay, okay.
because
Mhm.
I wear many hats, but I'll try and keep it simple. When I am asked to introduce my, can you hear
Mhm.
me? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So when I'm asked to introduce myself, I've learned to position myself as a human and mother first before all the many titles that I have. So when I'm not mothering or adulting, I am a social worker, I'm a clinical social worker, I'm a therapist, I am a cultural safety consultant, I'm a clinical supervisor, and many other things. But today I join this conversation as a sibling to your audience, as a cousin to all of them, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. I mean, given that this is our very first event and for 24, and before today, I'd been off maybe since September, and I thought this would die if I don't put in some energy back into this sort of multiple conversations in a short space of time. And I have to say, Sheila, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come up is because you've done so very well in the Black mental health space or in the mental health space. And what you're doing is you're writing history in the footprints of time. You've become like a legend, like each post, like you enjoy writing so much Like each post is like, I wish I could just copy and paste this and run with it. Like you do phenomenal work in the community, and we worked together with Aspire Hub, did we not? And the work there again was long lasting, and it's the kind of work where you go back and you're thinking and reflecting, what can I take from what I've heard, what can I incorporate into my life? So as we start 24, I need, not flattering you here, Shayla, I just needed you to come and help us get the right mindset on how we can transform ourselves and our lives in 24. Now, when people say this sort of conversations does not matter, what would you say to them?
Are you specifically talking about resolutions?
I'm talking about resolutions and transformations in 24.
Right. Um, I'm going to give an example. In 2023, my my manifestation word was pivot, pivot. And as a netballer, I'm a very, what's the word? I'm a very visual person. So when you talk about pivoting, I see myself like physically moving. So that was my word of manifestation and intention. And in 2024, my word is being, it's mindfulness. So I am starting there because I set an intention, and I'm still pivoting as I intended in my 2023. When that word was deposited in my spirit, I wasn't so sure of how I was pivoting. But if I'm looking back now, I have pivoted from my employment with Alberta Health Services into my private practice. That has been the biggest pivot. And how am I intending to focus on being this year is, I think as immigrants in this country, we are always hustling and doing. Some of us have 3 jobs. Some of us have more than 4 jobs. We talk multiple streams of income. So I realized that I was now a human doing that was doing many things. So now I am slowing down, and that is my intention. So if I don't have that intention, it's so easy to fall into the habits of doing, autopilot doing, and then I end up burning out. So I think that in a nutshell, I think having intentions and having a plan, following through with what we intend to do is important. Otherwise, you find yourself in a game. If you don't aim to win, then you're just playing aimlessly. So I see intentions as such that when we live our lives with intentions, we have to follow through with plans, and we also have to develop habits of discipline, because if we are not disciplined, it's easier to say, I don't have motivation. And when you don't have motivation, then we end up not following through with what we intend to do. So resolutions important. I think it all depends on the work that we do behind setting the intentions, if that makes any sense. So I'll hand it back to you before I start rambling, so that you can ask any.
You're not rambling at all. I'm making notes about resolutions. My own thing is food, and I think if you ask me, uh,
Mm-hmm.
what I like to get on top of in 24 will be like be disciplined around food. You know,
Right.
I only eat at home these days, and even when I'm at home, I've got to discipline myself. Half the plate is vegetables, and half the plate is, I don't even know what it's meant to be on the other half, maybe small carbs. Mine is discipline around food. So I was just thinking, maybe people listening, maybe there's a sex, maybe addictions, alcohol. So how do we find this discipline that you eloquently talk about, Shayla?
First, I find myself, before I answer your question, you
Yeah.
talk about food. And I think that we can't change something that we are not aware of. So everything starts with awareness. So if you can master, I think there are 3 hungers. I have a nutritionist friend who taught me that there are 3 hungers: the mouth hunger, which is the obvious one, that is driven by by cravings, sugar and salt. And then we have the heart hunger. I
Mm-hmm.
think the heart hunger is the one that many of us struggle with. When we have our emotional struggles, then we use food to cope with whatever it is that we are going through. So that is the hunger that many of us struggle with. And then the stomach hunger, which is the hunger that we should be feeding. The one way you know that I ate an hour ago and right now my belly is grumbling, or whatever the signs are. So that is the hunger that we should be feeding. So when you start with that awareness, maybe you're journaling, which hunger am I feeding? Then you can be on a journey towards feeding the hunger that you need, because we can't change something that we are not aware of. So everything begins with awareness.
Wow.
And then back to your question about how do we, you said, um, how do we become intentional? Where do we find the motivation? I think
The
the
discipline.
discipline.
Yeah.
Right. In the world of psychology, we have something called behavior activation. So when you start with an intention and you are very intentional about, let's say you wake up at 5 a.m., for instance, and you put it, obviously there has to be a plan that you're going to put it in your alarm, unless you're like me, who's on my grandmother's alarm. She used to wake me up at 4 a.m. So I actually don't need an alarm. So you set an intention and you do the work that you need to do in order to follow through with your intention. So if you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., then wake up at 5 a.m. regardless of whether you have the motivation or not. We get motivation from doing. It's not the other way around. Many of us think that we need to be motivated, but if we all waited for motivation, we wouldn't even go to work, because you wake up, who wants to wake up in the winter? But we go to work because we are disciplined, not because we are motivated.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yeah. So I think it's a question of that discipline of, you set your intention, you plan, and you follow through whether you feel like it or not. As long as you're not sick, you're not throwing up, you don't have a fever, you follow through with your plan regardless of what you're feeling. Then your motivation is going to come when you start seeing the results, when you start feeling good. Because as long as you know your why, I think that we need to think about purpose and passion. So what am I passionate about? And what is my why? Because if you don't know your why, it's easier to have all these resolutions and 2 weeks in, you're gone. You're no longer following through because you don't know your why. And I think the tip that I can give when it comes to your why is to thinking about, what legacy do I want to leave behind? How do I want to be remembered? So if you want to be remembered as this energetic person, or because our energy and how we show up, all of that is intertwined. So T, you said your goal is about food. So what is your why? Why is it that you want to change your habits about food? Because if you don't know your why, it's so easy 5 years after you still go back to the same goal. I want to change my food habits. So we have to nail your why. When you're clear about your why, it's easier to set your intention and follow through with your plan.
Let me recognize Martha. She's a huge fan of yours tonight. She's, liking everything you said. Martha, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, okay? Also thank you for your nice comments, Martha. We're grateful for your time. Right, Shayla, what's my why? Okay, I get what you're saying. We need to, yeah. So obviously I know I've done the work, but I don't want to share it with all the people listening. You have your things, too. I'm not gonna reveal all my stuff here on big conversation.
In sharing your story, you
I think
never know who's gonna recognize themselves in their story and get their motivation from
yeah,
your story.
terrible
But I hear you.
myself. Not to hear the nitty gritty, and of course, You want to. What I like to do is to focus on somebody else's addiction to alcohol. I want to focus on somebody else's addiction to porn or something else. But actually, I'm 45 this year, Shayla. If this, I mean, this is a good time to get rid of the belly, the upper belly and the lower belly weight I've carried for years. I weigh before I had my daughter, I was a size 12. Now I'm a 16. I like to get back to what I was before food found me. So I now need to renegotiate that contract or relationship. So that's a journey. That's the one thing I'm focused on in 24. And so I'm doing the work, I'm reading. Look at you intensely listening about a terabyte. You want
No, I'm
you
listening. I want us to dig deeper into, besides being a size 12.
know,
Let's dig deeper into other things. Maybe it's how you felt when you were a size 12, because I doubt that it's just about the size. It's about
yeah.
how you felt when
No,
you were
no,
at
no.
that age.
I need to be healthy. I think I'm carrying a lot in
Healthy.
my body. Yeah, I think if I can shed some of my belly weight, I would feel better. I would look at myself and like what I'm looking at. Okay, so if I don't get a grip on this, what would I be at the end of 24? 200 pounds? No, 200 kg. That's, way too much. Um, Martha is saying she loves you. You're an amazing person. We know that. Thank you. Uh,
Thank you, Meta. And real recognize real. So
mm,
that sisterhood is very reciprocal.
so I hear what you're saying. Find your why, and so let's move away from tea here. There's going to be
Yes.
different types of people listening to this, and it's all about resolutions and transformations. And I know something destructive about resolution is as soon as we made, I'm going to read my Bible throughout the year, and then on day two you miss out, day three you miss out, and today is January 21st. There, you're backed up so many pages. How do we pick ourselves up when we think we've let ourselves down with the resolutions which could ultimately lead to a transformation?
Right. I think the first thing that we want to work on is not living lives in solitary.
Mm,
Um, because when you have these goals and they are just yours, it's easier for you to just throw them out of the window or slack. But if you have an accountability partner, it's likely that you will feel motivated. You don't want to let your partner down. For instance, when I was playing netball, if I wasn't feeling like going, I would remember that I'm letting down a team. So in this case, you're letting down your partner or partners. So I think that it's important to have accountability partners, whether they are in the form of sisters or your siblings or family. But when we have accountability partners, we are likely to stay on the course than when we do things alone. The road is tougher and longer when we are traveling journeys in solitary.
mm. That is the concept of Ubuntu, isn't it?
Right. And in Ubuntu, as they eloquently say, I am because you are. So your sister or whoever you're partnering with, they are gonna text you and say, "Where are you, Tia? We're gonna leave in 5 minutes," and they're not gonna leave you behind, because when you start slacking, that energy is extended to them as well. So
Mm.
we are like an extension of each other. And when your sister is struggling, you feel that as well. You struggle with them. And when they're up, you're up with them. So I think that that concept of doing life with your tribe, so to speak, is important, especially when it comes to goal setting and following through with our goals.
So, how do we cope with feelings of disappointment when we do not follow our resolutions?
Right. Um, Being kind with ourselves, being compassionate with ourselves, knowing that we are not perfect. I think that we can be hard on ourselves, especially for people that are overachievers. And one of the reasons we struggle with disappointment and have feelings of shame is because most of us tie our sense of self-worth to what we do. So when you don't follow through or when you don't do something, we easily see ourselves as a failure and forgetting about everything else that we are doing well and focused on that one thing that you didn't do or that goal that you didn't follow through. So I think what's important is really to extend ourselves grace and compassion and realize that you may not have followed through with this goal, but yesterday was yesterday and today is another day, and you can continue and you can always start over and you can always start afresh. And it doesn't have to be that way, where you feel like a failure or you feel like your sense of self-worth because you didn't do something. I think we only fail when we give up.
Mm. You're right. You're right. Actually, I mean, this it's a vicious cycle every year. About right about now, we ask ourselves, how do I ensure that my goals for 24 are achievable? What steps do I need to? What do I need to put in place to make sure at the end of this year my goals have been achieved?
Right. And the thing with goals, though, is that they are not written on stone. Sometimes the goals that you set have to do with the mindset that you are in at that time. So if I have a goal of um, improving my relationship with food, when I feel like I have accomplished that goal, I can make it an ongoing journey, but I can add other goals as well. So I think that that continuation and seeing it as a journey more than a destination can help us just continue, because you can have a financial goal, you can have um, a physical goal, you can have a mental health related goal. At the end of the day, I don't think it's possible to fail in each and every one of them, but you can struggle with another and then thrive on the other one. I think that when we look at life with holistic lenses versus focusing on what am I failing in, because if we do look at it holistically, you will realize that there are areas that you're strong in and there are areas that you may be struggling with. I always say we grow what we water. So if you only focus on your failures, you're going to feel like a failure. But if you look at your life holistically, you will have a balanced view of, this is not who I am. This is part of this is part of me. This is part of my story. I may be struggling with my activities. Maybe I'm living a sedentary life, but I'm eating healthy. So having that balanced view is better than just looking at what am I failing at or what am I struggling with.
Mm. Thank you, Shayla. I gotta ask you this. You talked about Ubuntu, and I hear, we got Amanda here sending you some love. Thanks, Amanda. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. One of the things that you know that we fail to recognize is I live here and I maybe know my neighbors, but we don't interact. How is this Ubuntu even possible when our lives are so individualistic and many of us rarely even talk to our neighbors?
Right. I think that's a tough one, and I think I've learned that we can define what family is. We can define who our neighbor is. We can define what community means to us. Whether you're extending that Ubuntu at a church, or you're extending it to I don't know, to your child's school. I think it differs. It differs from one person to another. So depending on the neighbor that you are in, you're not going to change people to start subscribing to your own values, but you don't have to change yourself. You can say hi when you see them. Like my neighbors here, I have new neighbors, and I think on their first Christmas, they came and gave us a tray of cookies. And it did remind me of that spirit of Ubuntu, where if you ran out of cooking oil or ran out of tomatoes, you think of your neighbor first before you go to the store, not because you don't have the money, but because of that Ubuntu spirit that we can take care of each other. So how is it
How about
possible?
never running out of oil or any of these things? There's a system whereby you never run out.
Right. And
Like,
or there is a Costco where you have 20 of them and you never run out of them. I do realize that this is a different world, but I think that we can retain some aspects of it that are possible in the little ways that we can.
Shayla, please be honest with me. Is personal transformation even possible? Most of us who migrate here, we're now in our 40s. Can we really change?
Change is constant, T. You're not the person that you were yesterday.
Mm,
So when you ask me if change is possible, change is inevitable.
mm,
We are always changing. The question is, are we noticing? Are we uh, aware of those changes? Some of the change is intentional, some of it just comes with the territory of being human. That even as you are talking to me today, there's something that you've interviewed a number of guests today. There are some aspects of those conversations that you're taking with you that leave you different from who you were before you started these conversations. So in a nutshell, I do think that change and transformation is possible. It's a question of perspective. It's just that most of the times when we talk about change, we are looking at humongous change. But change is there, it's always happening. It's a question of what are you considering change? What are you considering as change? What transformation are you looking at and how are you measuring it? If you ask me, we are always changing.
I like your positive twist to that. I like the spin. So how do I embrace change and transformation when sometimes it feels intimidating and overwhelming?
Right. That's a hard question. Um, I think that trying to be as confident or really being true to yourself, because I think that it's hard to embrace anything else unless you're showing up as the person that you are, even when there are no cameras, as the person that you are, even when there are people who don't know you personally. You walk into a workspace and you're the only person that looks like you. And I'm pretty sure that many of us, a lot of thoughts go through your head. Are they going to accept me? How is it going to be? If you're a person who's experienced racism from your previous workplace, you already are suspicious about a new environment. So I think that we can walk into new spaces and expect the best. And when things don't happen the way that we expect them to, as long as we have those villages, we have our villages, we have our support system, our sisterhoods, our circles of support, we can be okay.
I'm like cringing a bit because I lived in the UK for a while, and some of my time there, I felt I didn't have any support. But I had my first, no, my second cousins out there, and I had friends here and there. But so how do we find a support system when maybe some of us don't have a support system, some of us don't have a partner, some of us don't have the sisterhood, some of us don't belong anywhere. We're
Right,
just existing.
right. I'll probably make you cringe again, but I really do believe that I think it was Toni Morrison who said, if you don't find the book that you're looking for, write it. So if you don't have the village, I think is be the village, create that village, because ultimately help won't find you unless you look for it. So I don't know. I think that is a question of what works for you, because what works for Shayla may not work for you, T. But for me, I have I have looked into my relationship with help. It hasn't always been the greatest one, especially again being in the diaspora and everybody's busy. You know that everybody has to send money back home and blah blah blah. All the dynamics that we have, but ultimately, we do have to find spaces that are supportive for us, and it may be different for you depending on where you are. I live in a small town too, and where I am, there's a likelihood that if I make any friendships, that those people will turn up to be my clients somehow. So I don't really make friends in the small town that I am, but I'm intentional about being in community spaces that have like-minded people, whether it's work or that's how I found you. So extending myself in a way that I form those relationships outside the neighborhood that I live in. It may not be everything that I need, but I am intentional about staying connected in those circles where I have some like-minded folks, where I have people that if I need a reference, I don't even have to give them a heads up because I know that they will show up for me. So it's really being intentional about those little things somehow, that whether it's friendships and whatever. Let's say it's daycare. Since I live in a small town again, from my workplace, I have some people that I've become close to that if I was at work and tied up and my daughter needed to be picked up, one of them would pick them up for me. So I think it's those being intentional somehow, whether it's work related or it's church related or whatever it is, the circles that you are in, building those relationships and being intentional about it if you can.
All right, Shayla, you mentioned it's my last question, and you gotta go. It's family time. You mentioned now you transitioned from working with Alberta Health Service to your own private practice. What does that look like, and where can anyone listening tonight find you? And Matha asks, how did you two meet? Yes, we're secret lovers, Matha. I, I've known I've known Shayla since maybe 2019, but we met for the first time last year. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, Shayla looks very tall. She has a bigger than life persona, but she's the kindest, and I say the most gentle person I've ever met in person. Like, and she's very considerate. She was, to asking me about my mom, even when my mom was no longer around, and she had made plans and preparations to include my mom. So yeah, how did we two meet? We do a lot of things virtually. I just wonder if Shayla will say the same thing about me. Shayla, we gotta let you go to your family Sunday evening, answer the question, and then
T,
let
I will answer the question, but I will also confirm. I say the same thing with Metha. I am intentional about making those reciprocal sisterhood relationships, and I think there's so much health healing. It's healing to be in relationships with sisters where the relationships are reciprocal. Um, what was the question? Where can people find me, and what does that look like that I'm practicing
yeah.
in on my own? I'm still figuring that out. I'm only 1 week in private practice, but what it means is that I am no longer going to Alberta Health Services Monday to Friday. I can now focus on the anti-racism and racial trauma work that I'm passionate about. I am, however, veering away from individual psychotherapy. I think that collective liberation and healing work is where my calling and my ministry is versus individual work. And I see individual work as very attached to Western ways of knowing and healing. So in decolonizing and rehumanizing mental health, I think there's power in healing together. So I'm going to be focusing on groups and doing workshops and doing some consultancy stuff. Cultural safety consultancy is really what I'm passionate about. Where can people find me? I'm everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn as Shayla S. Dube. I am on Instagram as Ubuntu Centered Practice. Where else am I? I think those two platforms are the platforms that I'm more active the most, but I can also be found on Psychology Today.
Shayla? Oh, okay. Shayla's internet is interrupted itself, which is fantastic because we were pretty much at the end with Shayla. I don't know if she'll be able to come back, but I just wanted to say that Shayla is my sister and I love you so
Doing.
very much, Shayla. Okay, yay, she's back.
Oh, I was disconnected?
Yes, you froze. Your screen froze.
And when did I freeze? Because I've been yapping. I didn't realize that I was disconnected.
Sorry, you froze Ubuntu centered practice, which is what I love.
All right. Ubuntu Centered Practice. I also mentioned that I am part of our Better Black Therapist Network.
We're also
Uh,
in psychology today.
I'm also on Psychology Today. I want to talk about our Better Black Therapist Network, though, because I think it's important for people to know that they can, if they decide to access mental health services, there is a network of therapists that look like them. Therapists that have done the work, the Afrocentric work, the culturally responsive work, the decolonizing work, the anti-oppressive work. So I'm a part of that network as well. And yeah.
Okay, and whilst you were gone, I didn't know if you were gonna come back. I said it, if it felt cold me saying it, but I just said you're my sister. I love you so much, and I'm ever so grateful you took your time on a Sunday evening to come on Big Conversations to talk about resolutions and transformations. And I feel very safe. It's been a safe conversation actually for me. And I hope people listening to have felt safe somewhat about our Ubuntu centered conversation around resolutions, and hopefully we can achieve that personal transformation at some point, not necessarily at the end of 24. And I won't forget when you said also that your word for 23 was pivot, but your word
Right,
for 24 is being, you know,
right.
that being intentional, that's like a lot. I gotta find my word for 24.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, everybody else who's listening too, can they
Yeah.
actually write on chats? I'm curious to know what their words are, because I find inspiration in that when we are intentional together. What is I'm curious, do we have only Metha or you have other people listening?
Well, there's several people. At the end of this, let me tell you what's gonna happen. We
Mm-hmm.
dribble, 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 and we're gonna get to about 1,500 people who listen. But
Oh,
maybe not necessarily right now,
right.
not necessarily now, but across the evening. Amanda said relationship. So Amanda, sending you lots of love. Thank you for tuning in, for listening. I appreciate the support. She said relationship. So we're gonna keep getting all this feedback. So make sure, Shayla, you check on the YouTube channel. I gotta let you go. You did say to me that you'll be cooking, spending time with your hubby, with your kids, this one and that one. I must let you go. So without much ado, I hope when we invite you again, Sheila, you come because even though you and I may be contemporaries, your wisdom is like that of a grandmother. It's like the ancients. You do have this shocking insights that you could not have picked up. Empowerment is another word Meta said. Thanks, Meta. You could not have picked up all this wisdom in the schools and universities and prestigious colleges you attended. This is as a result of who you are, and we salute the woman that you are. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, T. It's an honor. And before I go, I really want to recognize the person that said relationships, and just add on the fact that the relationships that we have with ourselves is the most important, because we can't give out what we don't have. So that relational safety piece, I want to just endorse that. And with that, thank you for having me.
Ooh, thank you so much, Shayla. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So our final guest tonight is the executive director for multicultural health brokers, but she's struggling with the technology, unfortunately, and so we'll have to reschedule that for Zoom. the way StreamYard works is it's a link, and because of the technology, she was unable to join us, but we're gonna get Miss Yvonne Chu back another evening. I want to say a big thank you for joining us. I'm grateful to Amanda. I'm grateful to everyone who will be watching this later on. I understand that Sunday night is premium time. Even me personally, there are two or three events I had to come out of just to host my own show. So thank you so very much for your time. I love you so much. See you next week Sunday. Oh God, we have a show for you next week Sunday. I'll see you right then. This was Big Conversations with T. Good night.